Um, French defense c4. C4 is quite creative, but this move is not the best move. So the best move is c3 to defend like d4. The problem with c4 is the d4 pawn and also these two pawns will become targets because we don't have a c3 pawn supporting d4 anymore. So black can play for knight c6, like attacking the d4, and this is in this game black take the pawn, but taking the pawn is also fine. Knight c6 is also something I would consider. If white knight f3, because if white take the pawn, like the e5, both the e5 and the c5 will be captured. So black can take the e5, so white center will be broken, and the c5 is also very hard to defend. So if knight f3, we can keep taking the pawn, take, and knight e5, or knight g e7 and knight e5. I think the e5 pawn will be captured sooner or later. So in this game, like black take the pawn, white takes that, knight c6, kicking the queen moves to f4, the queen have to protect the e5, this makes the queen very passive. And knight g7, I think knight g6 come in, knight f3, white has to defend e5, this is very like awkward. Knight g6, queen e3, so black has moved like pieces quicker than white, so now it's still black to move. So actually I think black can keep pushing the pawn to d4. If the queen goes to e4, so we can actually win the pawn after knight e5. Why did I say that? What about queen a5? And we can check the king and win the center pawn, right? F4 is also we can play queen to e2, protect the knight, queen a5. We can fork, winning the e5 knight. So black can win the center pawn, win the e5 pawn. So yeah, so in this queen c7, bishop to b5 to pin the knight. Is there any way? Maybe knight c6, c3 we can consider. Develop knight and attack d5. So even though I will lose e5, I can win d5 back. So in this game, white play bishop to b5 to pin the knight. Bishop to d7. Actually, a6 I think is better. After exchange, we take that. We can have a very great center pawns, and we are still attacking like e5. Even though we cannot take that now, we can move the rook, and also c5, d4. Black will have very good center control. Knight d7, knight c3. This is good. Attacking d5. And black, yeah, moved knight to e6. So that's the problem with bishop d7. We have to, this is a little bit slowing down our like piece development. Castle, bishop e7, rook e1. This e5 pawn is really a burden for white pieces. A lot of pieces has to protect e5. So which makes black slightly better. Rook d8. Rook d8 is a little bit problematic. Because knight b5 kicking the queen and the white can move knight to d4. So be aware that the d5 pawn is isolated. So what do I say? Why do I say isolated? Because there is no any other pawn beside the d5. So the d4 square is a very good outpost for the knights. So we should either move the queen or a6. Stop like knight b5 kicking the queen. And this is what white did. So white should keep further moving knight to d4. This is a very good square to control. And don't worry about e5. At least we can have 3 pieces, protect that, and our knight is really strong. And also if we exchange with the bishop, we can take the knight, which breaks the pawn structure. And yeah, so blacks probably take the knight, we can take them with the queen. We have the queen very strong in the center. There's no pieces can kicking our queen. b6, bishop to c5. That's not possible. I can move pawn to b4. And my bishop can move to b2, protecting the pawn. And my queen is super good at the center. So in this game we move knight to g5. This is a little premature. Why do I say premature? Because I think my headphone is dead. Let me try to turn it off. Yes. Okay. So the problem with this move is, I think after a6, if we move, for example, knight to d4, we will lose the knight. We cannot move knight to d4 anymore. So that's a problem. And if we move knight to back to c3, I think d4 is coming. There's a fork, right? So what else? If you maybe take the knight, and I take your bishop, and maybe knight e6, and I take this one, you knight to d4 and bishop c5. We can pin the knight. White will lose the knight. The same, yeah, knight c3, d4. Knight a3, that's the best position, but this knight is really bad in position. And rook f5. Black can keep attacking the pawn and also move this rook, attack f2. Maybe we can move the bishop to c5 at some point, attack c2. So yeah, so knight g5 is a premature attack. I think white should focus on improving the position. So black take the pawn, but black cannot win the pawn, right? After exchange. So yeah, so a6 is a very good move. And after exchange, the game becomes very balanced again. Queen to h3. Why do we move the queen back? I think we need to develop bishop, because this diagonal is very important. If we give the dot square bishop to c5, this is disaster. This is really bad. I think after bishop e3, first of all, we develop bishop, protect f2, and later we can move knight to d4. This is the outpost in from the isolated pawn. Bishop e3 is the best move. Queen h3, I don't see any point in make this move. And bishop c5. How can we defend the f2? If you move bishop to e3, and what about d4? Kicking a bishop, and then I can move a6 first. Kick your knight to a3 and d3. Rook bishop back to e3. I can move the knight. And you take that, queen to f. Look at these three pieces attacking f2. And the knight cannot help. This rook, it cannot help. And black is winning. If white don't take the knight, for example, queen to g4 and knight e2, check the king. King to h1 and bishop e3 takes. I'm pretty sure we have some like tactical here. Rook to d1, knight to c1, close this rook, and if knight to c4, we can knight to c d3. Yes, knight f2, and black win material. So bishop c5, attacking the weakness. So the a6 move is premature. Why do I say that? Because you push your opponent's knight to a better position. You push your opponent's knight back to d4, back to the center position. Queen to a7, knight to f5. I think bishop e3 is still good. We can attack the queen and protect the f2. Isn't that good? Knight e6 come in. Yeah, queen to a7. I don't see why we move queen to a7. I think bishop c5 is still better than queen to a7 because of knight e3. This discovery attack will make black so passive. But why didn't do that? Knight f5, bishop c5, bishop e3. Why do we take the bishop? Why do we take our bishop is way good than the e3 bishop. Our bishop is being attacking, this bishop is defending. Can we push the d pawn to d4? And black has like twice as much time as its opponent. Black should invest much more time than it did. Black spent a couple seconds. Actually, d4 is we can remain the bishop and the bishop back to d2, so we can push the pawn to d3, bishop back to e3. Don't take the bishop. So think about a way to keep the bishop or make some composition if we trade the bishop. So for example, b6. Why b6 is better? Because if you take, I can have connected pawns, right? Even though trade the bishop, we can have a connected pawn as compensation. b3, queen f7, attack the knight, attack f2. So white has to move like g4 and c4. I feel like we can push to d2, rook to d1, and queen c4. This passed pawn is super powerful. Knight e3, and we can put a queen to d3, and knight f2, knight e2, knight c3. We're so good. So push the d pawn. So once we trade the rooks, if we push the d pawn, so I think black focused too much on f2, and black missed this d pawn being so powerful. Take, rook f8. Now I don't think we can attack f2 anymore because it's protected, and rook e1, there's a back rank opportunity. The h6 is good. Queen to a4. Oh, this is a mistake. This is super mistake. It's better to move the rook to protect the pawn. Losing the f2 pawn is a mistake. Yeah. Move back rook to f5. I think black should activate the queen. And then we can move the rook. So for example, queen d3. We can take the b2. We can attack b2, right? Why don't we take this pawn? The white queen cannot move because rook f1. We can win. So the b2 is impossible to be protected. Queen b2, and we can take this one. If we protect, at least we can win 2 pawns. Queen to rook to f6, queen f2, queen f1, king h1, queen f2. How can white stop the back rank? Rook g1. Maybe that's the only way. Then we can win another pawn. Yes. So rook f5, rook e5, king to h2, exchange the rooks, check. Now I think white has created the game balanced again. Offer exchange. Well, I think now black has so much time, 10 minutes. And the white has only like less than 2 minutes. So we shouldn't simplify the game. Offering exchange make the position like drawish. So we should keep this tension. Even though we cannot win, we're not sure we can win, but we can keep it like as complicated as possible. Like we can push the pawn to create some, like maybe white will blunder because of the pressure of time. So queen d7, and I think white should exchange the queen to simplify the game, to make it into rook endgame, which is easier to draw. And also white has a active king than the black king, slightly active king than the black king. So we should trade the rooks, trade the queens. So a couple of moves, and rook e3, queen g6. Oh, this exchange doesn't favor black because right now black has pieces more active. The rook's pinned. We can keep pushing pawn. At least we can have a better pawn structure if we want to move it to like king's pawn, like endgame. We can at least like have like pawn's position higher up. We don't have to take the rook now. because our pawns or kings are not ready. So we can keep pushing the pawn, even though maybe we can have a passed pawn, and then trade the rooks. So when we trade everything, g5. No, we should get active the king, of course. g5 is only makes the white king close to our like pawn, and white is winning. g4. a4 is good. I think white is. Ooh, wait. Here I think d6 is more good because we can like force the king go backward and then king c5. We can give us one more move. This is good. Yes. This is good, but we didn't do that. King e5, king b4. I think black chose a wrong direction. King d4 can give black a draw at least, because this pawn, if you I said that if you have like pawn higher up, it's usually an advantage because it's easier for the pawn to promote. So black chose a wrong direction. We can take the pawn because when you promote, there is a check. But it's understandable that white doesn't have much time to think, and I think white can still win. Check. f2. Oh, g3 is mistake. Queen f3. And also we can play here, and then take the queen, take the pawn. Then we can get a pawn promote. So I think white made a mistake, probably because of time pressure. Now, wait. It's impossible to catch up with the pawn because the king has controlled the key square. So pushing this pawn is the only hope. And white can get a draw actually. And this is a draw. Cool, that's it.